My guest this week is a writer for Breitbart.com and a general rabble-rouser and Renaissance man, Milo Yiannopoulos. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So when I tweeted out originally that you were coming in, half the people told me I was going to absolutely hate you. Mm-hmm. Half the people told me I was going to love you.
Mm-hmm. The first half were wrong.
The first half were wrong, yeah? All right. So we actually had a drink the other night. I want to be totally transparent here. We had a drink the other night, and we talked a little bit. So we've gotten to know each other, however much you can, in an hour. You are a gay conservative. Mm-hmm. And I want to repeat that just so that the audience can be clear. You are a gay...
You think you need to repeat it? You think it's weird?
Conservative.
Why would that be strange?
Well, people freak out. So let's just start. Let's just start. What is a conservative to you in 2015? Because I think people don't even know what sort of basic terms anymore, much less the gay part. But what is a conservative?
I think the reason people are surprised about a gay conservative is because we have a slightly outdated notion of what conservatism is now. I mean, the religious right in America doesn't have the same purchase on the public imagination anymore that it once did, so it's a sort of part of the right, but not whole of it. And the right in Europe is drifting quite quickly to the left. So conservatism as a movement, as a political philosophy, is a bit lost at the moment. One thing we can say for sure is that people on both sides of the political spectrum are moving toward a sort of centre-right libertarianism. And for me, the big gap between people, the big sort of defining political schism, particularly on the internet, but I think of everybody really, is not left and right anymore. It's becoming between authoritarians and libertarians. The issue for the left being that there isn't much space for libertarians there. A lot of conservatives who, aren't necessarily religious or find their own party drifting to the left are beginning to call themselves beginning to call themselves libertarians or conservatarians. So I think it's a more interesting distinction to speak in terms of personal liberty and freedom now. And when you understand it like that, it makes much more sense why a gay person would be one.
Right. So the part that we sort of fall out on the same spot is the authoritarian and libertarian part of this, right? Because we don't like the authoritarians. I think both of us are sort of libertarians. Libertarians are thought more of in the conservative space. But if you were to give me like a 3-sentence synopsis of when you say to someone, I'm a conservative, what are the principles there? What is the basic bullet principles there?
I think you believe in individual, in personal responsibility. You believe in freedom of thought, of expression, of creativity. You believe in free markets. You believe that the relationship of the individual and the state should be circumscribed quite clearly and quite crisply. So you believe that the state has a limited and quite well-defined set of responsibilities beyond which it should not stretch. You believe in the power and value of institution and authority and community structures. So you believe that you may, for example, believe that even if you're not a Christian, you still recognise that the church has something to offer, that it is a valuable institution that makes people
We'll get to that.
Yeah, okay. But likewise, institutions like monarchy, you respect them because you understand that even though, for example, it would be very difficult to defend the monarchy in purely logical terms, these days, nonetheless, it works best in Britain. It is the best system yet devised, and it works brilliantly in Britain. Even if you were to design a state today, you wouldn't come up with it.
And I'm sure a lot of the commenters are
and they're wrong. They're obviously wrong.
Yeah.
Conservatives instinctively understand the value of tradition and authority, and of course, liberals want to tear all those things down. So I think those are some of the things that people mean when they describe themselves as a conservative.
Right. So the reason I think it's sort of a confusing term, or that all our terms have become confusing, I think, is because a lot of times now, as you sort of alluded to, in America, we think of conservatives somehow as an attachment to the religious right, which is weakening a little bit, which I think is good. And you're saying in England, it's a little more of a respect for the monarchy, a respect for traditions. But I think a lot of people would say, well, you're just in it for the man, right?
Well, I think it's preposterous. And if you look at look at how many working-class conservative voters there are, why would all of these people be voting against their own interests? If that were true, if conservatism were really about protecting rich people, why would millions of people who struggle to make rent or struggle to put their kids through college or struggle even perhaps to feed their families vote conservative? They do it because they appreciate the value of some of the structures around that they love, and they do it because they believe in a certain limit of the state's power. They believe in other things that go with conservatism. Why would so many people vote against their interests? I mean, it's a sort of absurd characterization, a sort of childish characterization of conservatism to suggest that it is, in some way just a system to protect the man, protect the rich, to protect corporations. I think we can all agree that corporatism and mature late capitalism, which exists in sort of intricate symbiosis with the private sector and in some cases quite poisonous in that respect. The bailouts of the banks in the UK, the sorts of corporate cronyism that happens in
We
America.
got plenty of it here too. Yeah.
Right, of course. I think we can all agree that's a bad thing, but it is by no means restricted to one side of the political spectrum.
Yeah, well, I always say there's a reason that, at least in America, the 1% give basically 51% to the Republicans and 49% to the Democrats, because they're hedging their bets. So yeah, I don't believe it goes down to either party.
No, and if you take the view that conservatism is about sticking up for the man, you have to explain things like why conservatives give more money to charity, why even conservatives who aren't religious give more to charity. There are a lot of very difficult questions you have to answer if you want to make that argument. For me, it doesn't hold water.